Apparently, President Biden came and visited Portland itself. He's staying there for the night. I think that's remarkable. I didn't even know that he was coming into town. I kind of wish that I was downtown now just to, you know, exchange maybe a few words with the president. Let him know, because see, the problem with living in Portland, Oregon, and at least the metro area of Portland, like I live way, way the fuck out west in the suburbs where like nothing happens out here. And, the most eventful things that you'll see happen are, just families, just nothing really big tends to take place here. It's a sleepy little hollow for the most part. Not a whole lot tends to transpire, and yes, it's a manufactured home and everything, but it's mostly a retirement community. I'm one of the youngest people in the park, in particular. You know, Smoke Tree is not really. You're not really supposed to have very many people that are my age in this area. It's just not supposed to be, because it's mostly people that are older here in the park that I live in, and so Biden's coming to Portland, and the reason why that's such like a major thing for me is just that, like, frustration wise, when it comes to living in the Pacific Northwest, like we're not a swing state, you know, like we're just not. I mean, sure, Drazen is likely to win, the upcoming governor's race, but don't let that fool you. It's an aberration because of the fact that Oregon is currently beset by some really big problems and challenges that are unique in the nation. I mean, Portland has made some major headlines, and it's sort of remarkable though, in that Portland gets the headlines that it gets and that it got as like infamous as it did nationally, because if you go down there and you look at it, we're not the only city that's endured riots downtown. We're not the only city that's it's not the only city that's actually got that kind of problem. It's not the worst, major downtown urban center in the fucking world. It's not even, or even within America. There are places and communities that are far more run down, have much bigger problems with homelessness and everything, and yet somehow this turned into the national spectacle that it did. And the reason why it's turned into the spectacle that it has turned into is because, like I said, a bunch of outsiders decided to push into this community, and they came here for a confrontation. They came here looking for a fight. Like, I hate that. Like, I know what I'm saying isn't popular, but when has the fucking truth ever been popular? Like, you know what I mean? Like, since when was when has the public been, really seeking like the cold, honest truth instead of, happy, comforting lies about what happened? And I know that this is bursting some people's bubble in a very like they don't like the truth sort of way, but we have been invaded. I mean, I know that the people that are coming in here are Americans, and that technically Oregon is part of America. It's not a foreign country, outside the rest of the place, but in a lot of ways it might as well be. And Oregon of itself is a whole fucking different universe than the East Coast. I mean, the culture is completely different than it is out there. And you might say that politics are part of culture, but there are ways in which Oregon is unlike the rest of the country that have fucking nothing to do with politics. From the way that you can tell somebody's from the area when they don't even, when you find them walking in the rain without any protection whatsoever, as if it's not a big deal. When the rain doesn't have any effect on deterring whether they're going to go somewhere or not, when nobody gives a fuck. That's when you know that you've seen a native Oregonian. I mean, on top of all that, this is a culture and climate that's a little bit more introverted than the rest of the nation. It likes to read. It likes to stay inside and read books. It likes the sound of the rain on the rooftops. not like, the rest of the country in a lot of ways. It's a far more literate place. You'll find that even people like me who, have not ultimately don't have huge lives of achievement are exactly the same sort of people that will read manga at least, you know, a re- we have a reading habit and hobby. I mean, you're gonna find that's gonna be a big thing here, and we've got major bookstores that are not part of the big. They're big, but they're not. Amazon. They're not part of like the giant Borders, Barnes and Noble chains. They're independent and huge at the same time. Powell's Books in particular. You've got a climate and a culture with a love of reading that exists almost nowhere else in this nation. You've got a love affair with print media that has died out almost everywhere else in America in favor of video content. I mean, none of that has anything to do with politics. None of it. And yet, that's the area that in the ways in which this part of the country is different than everywhere else. It's a little bit more introverted. It's a little bit kooky, weird, in a big way. We don't pump our own gas. You've got people here that seem to think that it make like they seem to think that they're part of the elites that are too good to pump their own gas. Like rich people don't ever pump their gas in the country, which is not the case. you like I've been about, and they make fun of us international. They make fun of us in the rest of the nation because nobody here pumps their own gas that's done for us. There are people that if it's not if it's not done for them, will drive off. They won't even go, you, because that's normal for us. It's funny. I mean, admittedly, like I can laugh at myself and the culture that I came out of and the climate that I came out of. Our schools are awful. They've been awful for 30 fucking years. It's not new. One of the things that got me about the governor's debate was that, we suddenly started dialoguing about Oregon's failing schools. And it's like, Oregon schools didn't start failing fucking, within the Brown administration. Brown didn't start, us down the path that we've been on for 30 fucking years. The schools have been a disaster for a long fucking time. I came out of the fucking 90s, man. Like, I came up through the Oregon school system in the 90s. It was bad then, and it's bad now. you know, like I mean, I hate to break it to you, but that was the one thing that drove me crazy about the governor's debate here about Oregon. It was like this, let's pretend that the schools just suddenly started having difficulties recently. I mean, they didn't. you know, I'm an advocate. I think you guys know me at this point if you've been paying attention. I'm an advocate for completely burning down the system as it currently exists and instituting Montessori education for all. That's been my position for a long time. Now it hasn't changed. I mean, that's what I'm calling for. I believe that our education model should consider the interest of the child and, be centered on what the child wants to learn instead of what, the system wants to push down their throats. And I think our current model and approach is broken at the root of STEM, and that the root has to be ripped out and replaced from the ground up with our education system. And that's what I'm formally calling for, and I will be calling for the rest of my goddamn life unless it actually happens. So I think that Oregon schools have been broken, and they've been broken for as long as I've fucking been alive, and they were probably broken before I even came about. So I'm pissed, about that, about the debate between Drazen and the others, because it was like, yeah, you guys failed to talk about how long it's been. I mean, it's not like anybody on the stage is making it out to be. It's not like we suddenly woke up one day and schools were failing. The schools were failing a long fucking time ago, and they're still failing now. I mean, why don't we actually address the full scale of the failure that the American education system has been for the last, fucking 50 fucking years at least. I mean, let's grapple with that instead of, the illusion that things broke yesterday. We have one of the worst education systems in the fucking modern world, and it's bad, and but the president visited the region, and this is not really a swing state. I mean, it's been blue as fuck for a while. It's, the Democrats fucking Sparta. If Drazen gets elected, it will not be any less the Democrats fucking Sparta than ever. I mean, Oregon is just flirting with this idea of electing a Republican because of the fact that things have been, eh, there's a perception that things have been bad for a while now, and the Democrats haven't done enough to address it, despite having power. You know, I can't say that I necessarily fully disagree with the logic there. It's just, I think that when I look at the national situation, and when I look outward at the broader nation, I can tell you that, Oregon may elect a Republican governor, but America at large is thinking about voting for the Republican Party because of the economy. And what they're going to get is a party that tries to hold the debt, ceiling hostage in order to, try to push through forward unpopular political cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. You know, that's what's going to happen. I mean, and that's only going to have a detrimental effect on the economy because the markets do not like unpredictability and instability. The market wants things to be stable, and when you have a political party that's playing a game of brinkmanship against another party that refuses to fucking blink, I mean, that's not good for the market, to say the least. So, you people that are thinking about voting Republican, I mean, like, you're incompetent. Congratulations. You're just going to break the economy even worse. You're going to go from high inflation to, instability and unpredictability about whether the US will default on its national debt. Good going. And it will all be on your shoulders. I can't wait to watch the buyer's remorse go up on Twitter.